Let's head to Miami, the number 13 class in the 2025 group. The Hurricanes followed up last year's number 4 class by finishing number 13, but they still take this top spot in the ACC for the third straight season. But perhaps the biggest addition came by way of the portal, adding Georgia quarterback Carson Beck. Let's first hear from Gaby Urrutia from Canes 24/7.
Another successful recruiting class for Mario Cristobal and Miami, signing the ACC's top-ranked group for the third consecutive cycle. The group is headlined by 5-star defensive end Hayden Lowe, who comes in as the number 16 overall player, number 2 edge rusher in the class of 2025 out of Southern California. Miami is also really eager about their quarterback of the future in Luke Nickel, a 2-time state champion in the state of Georgia, who accumulated a 26-2 record over the past 2 seasons. And there's also plenty of talent around those guys, both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side, top 247 running back Gerard Pringle, top 247 wide receiver Josh Moore are a couple pieces the Hurricanes are eager to get their hands on, as well as top 247 tight end Brock Schott. On the defensive side of the ball, 4-star linebacker Kellen Wiley is drawing a lot of early buzz in Coral Gables, alongside a couple other guys like 4-star cornerback Jabari Antoine, 4-star cornerback Chris Ewald, and a ton of other exciting pieces that the Hurricanes were able to add. S.J. Alafai-Tuli is an interior lineman who Miami is eager to develop as the center of the future. Again, this is a really exciting class for Mario Cristobal and Miami. The talent acquisition process is at a premium in Coral Gables, and Mario Cristobal and these guys have done as good of a job as any program in the country when it comes to recruiting top-end talent.
Thank you to Gaby from Inside the U, certainly showing us up with that gorgeous background from South Florida. But talking about the team from South Florida, from a pure talent standpoint, what is Miami capable of doing in 2025?
They're capable of making another run.
Okay. To the playoffs.
To the playoffs.
But making it this time.
Making it
okay.
This time. Carson Beck's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Point blank, period. Now it's on Shannon Dawson to unlock him, to make him play more freely. Give him some easier throws, some layups. Move him a little bit. Don't keep him in the pocket as a statue. And when you talk about quarterback play, the offensive line is pretty daggone good. I don't think he's going to get touched here. They can run the ball. But then they add a tight end, Alex Bowman, in the transfer portal. Young kid out of Tulane. That is another one when you look up at the U saying, wow, Miami got another one? Yeah, underrated guy, but with Carson Beck in that offense, they're going to find ways to make sure that he's one of the key points of this offense, working as a run blocker and a wise inline blocker, but has enough wiggle and pass catching ability down the field.
Well, they have enough talent to finish the job and make the college football playoff, right? Miami just wasted one of the best offenses we have seen probably ever in UM history with a quarterback that, could do a little bit of everything in Cam Ward, right? And Cam Ward was awesome. He was a cheat code, right? He bailed Miami out of a lot of bad situations throughout the course of the season, and the magic kind of ran out in the end there. In comes Carson Beck, who I like a lot. I do have some concerns about the injury, right? He's going to miss spring football practices. That anytime with the elbow throwing, I think there is some reason for concern, but let's assume he's healthy and we're getting the best Carson Beck in 2025. He's going to be really good. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Cam Ward. I wouldn't say it's going to be, Cam Ward type of highlight plays and all that. But for me, Miami, it all starts on defense, right? Lance Guidry's out. New play caller on the defensive side of the ball. They had to get better in the secondary. And you look at Cooper Patagna's transfer portal rankings, and they did just that. I mean, they got multiple guys: Xavier Lucas, the top-ranked corner; Emmanuel Carnley; Charles Brantley; Zechariah Poyser; Ethan O'Connor. All these guys are starting cornerbacks or starting defensive backs with multiple years of eligibility remaining. I mean, Mario Cristobal has assembled, I would say, the most talent in the ACC. I mean, they just signed 13 blue chip prospects in the class of 2025. That was more than anyone else. That was more than Florida State. That was more than Clemson. They have the talent. They just got to be able to finish the job. And I really admire how they have blended the transfer portal with the high school talent acquisition. I mean, you look at the star players on Miami's roster: Francis Mauigoa, 5-star recruit; Ruben Bain, someone they had to get from South Florida; Justin Scott, remember, he was a 5-star. We saw a little bit of him in year 1. He's going to be ready to go in year 2. Jordan Lyle, 4-star local running back. He's another guy with a rocket. You can strap it to his back. JoJo Trader, Elijah Lofton. They go out and get a 5-star pass rusher from across the country, and Hayden Lowe. He's the headliner of the 2025 group. So can they get better in the secondary? That's all that matters to me. Like, they have to figure that out, and I do think they have the horses to get the job done.
And in the secondary, it wasn't the talent. It was focus. You saw a lot of busted coverages. You saw a lot of one guy was playing man, the other one was playing zone. You're supposed to be in the middle of the field. The middle of the field's open. The corner lets the guy get into the middle of the field. So a lot of it can be fixed with technique, eyes, and just discipline. But that comes from the coordinator. How much time are you spending being good at one thing? Stop trying to be good at everything. When you have horses and you have the players, you don't need a lot of plays. Just leave those players alone and let them hunt. And I think that's what they're getting back into. When the U was the U, they're probably running 2 or 3 defenses. They got a zone and they got a man. And they got 4 guys up front that can get after you. And if you didn't want to move off of that spot, you're going to be knocked back on that spot. And when you ran the ball up the middle, those linebackers, one gap, came downhill, bust your head. And if you went outside, they scraped because they had speed to go get it. And when you put the ball in the air, there was tight coverage with playmakers at the safety position. And I think that's what they're getting back to. This discipline, structure, and understanding where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to get there, and just be there consistently over a period of time.
You talk about the emphasis in the secondary, but one player that you mentioned, Hayden Lowe, is somebody that you called one of the biggest risers in this edge class. Is anybody in this group coming in the 2025 group an instant impact player? If so, who?
Well, when you look at Miami's roster, you would think at the secondary, hey, maybe there's a guy that steps in there, but they went out and they got the veterans. They've addressed some recruiting issues that they had from previous cycles. I mean, Smoke, you just talked about, like, hey, run man and zone. All the kids in South Florida grew up playing man coverage. They've been doing it since they were 9 years old. So the fact that Miami let Xavier Lucas go to Wisconsin in the first place, now they got him back because of the transfer portal, but they need to do a better job, I think, of getting local defensive backs, right? But they have those. Wide receiver, they bring in some guys, Malachi Toney, a reclassification, Joshua Moore. They have some of those. Can any of those guys step through, or is it going to be more of C.J. Daniels who comes through the transfer portal? I think Hayden Lowe could play because he could be part of that back end of that rotation. We're talking about a guy who's relatively on the younger side, but as a senior, 16 sacks. We get him at the All-American Bowl. I was in a meeting, in October. They're like, hey, who do we have to get? I said, Hayden Lowe. I'm like, this kid is the best pass rusher on the West Coast. We have to get him into the game. We have to. And he shows up, and he's exactly who we thought he was, right? 34-inch arms. The sky is the limit for Hayden Lowe. I think he could be utilized a lot like Bryce Young was at Notre Dame this past season. Bryce Young, 5-star defensive end. The more the season progressed, the more he was utilized, especially in that college football playoff. And the name of the game now is you have to have depth, right? You could be playing 14, 15, 16 games. So, I might be saying Hayden Lowe right now, hey, he could be the 4th defensive end in the rotation. Well, you need that guy. Yeah. Attrition is going to happen. I think the other thing with the college football playoff and these freshmen, if you make a deep run, think about it. Hey, you're in the semifinals. That's essentially the 3rd game of your sophomore year. Like, these guys are just completely different than when they arrived as a freshman in week 1.
What do you think about that? That's an interesting point there. These freshmen are ready to go if, and Miami hopes, they're in the college football playoff.
And that's where you get the veteran guys to come in and play early. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to throw those young guys in the water to get baptized, because sometimes that baptism burns and it sucks, and you lose all self-confidence. And for when you play on the back end, it's all about how you feel, how you look, and what you believe that you can do. Because 95% of the time you beat, you got to recover. So the older guys get in, give the younger guys time to just get warmed up to it. And then when the season goes along and you see at the end of it, those older guys, we knew they weren't that good. We just knew they were veterans. Younger guys come in, like you just said, sophomore season, they're getting ready to play. That look that they had in their eyes where it was bugged and nervous, now it's confidence. Like, hey, listen, this lineup, I've seen everything all year already. I've gotten baptized. I'm holy now, and I've come on the good side.
I love it. All right, we'll end our conversation there, but be sure to check out Inside the U for all things Miami football. You want more, shots of our friend Gaby Urrutia and the sunshine? You'd be very jealous. You can check out all of his great coverage and the whole team at InsideTheU.com.